conversations that will be happening. Like,
Great.
boom, boom. You won't even know what hit you.
Great. Then we're on track so far.
Because here's the thing, Jay. The people know you and me. They don't care what we have to say about anything.
Well, I'm really glad I interrupted Jill as she was about to say something, man. Way to go, me.
It's okay.
We have 85, 6 episodes of this tripe that people can listen to. So it's time we break a new ground.
So is this video too? Are we going to be seeing on video or just audio? Okay.
No, okay. we haven't gotten that far. It's baby steps into the future.
I'm recording it just in case we lose. Yes. But it just will not be.
So we can put that out. We can put it out for sure.
We're crushing it. You two, we're crushing it right now. The three of us.
Man, I can record on my phone as well.
Yes, Jill.
Wow.
We got everything.
Triple threat.
Triple threat.
Well, thank you for being here for this thing. How, Jill, you're in San Francisco.
Yes.
What's going on in San Francisco right now?
What's going on in San Francisco right now? Oof. I mean, I wonder if this is like this in all major cities, but I feel like there's an exodus happening. You know, people are moving out, living with their parents or, going somewhere with more wide open space. And especially with the big tech companies that are here, they're allowing people to work wherever, for I think as long as needed, I think. So I think people are just leaving. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's been happening in LA. I know a couple of people who have left, either they're calling them COVID moves. It's like we don't know if it's going to be permanent or not. We're just kind of feeling it out. We may go somewhere for a little while and may come back at a later date. Yeah. But yeah, I've known a few people to have done that, and I would imagine that it's the same thing up there. Because it's expensive to live in a place like San Francisco, especially.
Yeah, and I feel like I've talked to a lot of our teachers who are teaching online and a lot of our students who are still living in San Francisco. It's just hard. I mean, a lot of these folks literally live in closets. You know what I mean? Like they have their little online setup system in a closet, and that's like the most private space they can find in their 5-person household in a tiny little place in downtown San Francisco. So it's hard. Yeah, it's hard for folks. Yep.
Yeah. And I guess we should back up. You run Leela. Is that right? Leela Improv?
Yep. It's Leela. It means play in Sanskrit. So I always like to give a little origin story because people often say, I think I'm Leela, or they're like, Leela from Futurama? What? So when my husband and I started the company in 2003, I was like, what are we going to call this thing? I got to come up with a really good name. And I said, I really want it to be a woman's name. Like, that's most important to me. Just growing up in the 90s doing improv, I was, a very rare unicorn, in an improv class. And I also wanted it to mean something meaningful, so play is really meaningful to me. I'm also a drama therapist and play therapist. And so I just believe in the power of play. It's such a beautiful thing that can bring adults together as well as kids and people of all walks of life. So Leela means play, and it's also a woman's name. So there it is. Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Thanks.
How long has Leela been around?
Yeah.
Yeah, so 2003 is kind of what we stamp the origin date, and then we had about a 3 to 5 year hiatus around 2008. When the economy tanked then, so we kind of took a hiatus there, but we picked back up around 2010, 2011, so we've been going strong since then.
I mean, that's huge. You've seen, Jill, enough improv theaters who have come and gone in such a short amount of time, and let alone just startups who don't last at 3 years. And the fact that you've had the staying power. for so long. I mean, that's a huge testament, and you've seen so many changes that's happening as well. And the fact to still be there and still going and moving along, and you've got a really great core group of teachers and performers up there that it's such a great thing, and that you're still doing it is amazing.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, a big mission at Leela when we've seen things change a lot in San Francisco, with tech, tech booms that happen in San Francisco every 5 years or so. This tech boom that we've recently had has been going strong. I think it'll keep
Yeah.
going for a long time. But I was really like, I want to keep our artists here because I saw so many artists getting priced out of this city,
Mm.
not being able to live in San Francisco any longer. And I was like, we have like a mission. We're gonna try to make full-time jobs for working artists at Leela. And I'm really, we don't have many right now that are full-time, but they're pretty close to full-time. And we have two main folks, Diana Brown and Stephen J. Burnett, who like we are just like, you guys, we're finding you work, whatever work we can find right now. We want you to stay here. We want to keep you here in San Francisco, and it's just really important to me, to keep our artists here in San Francisco. So that's a big goal that we have as a company. Yeah.
My God, there are improv theaters who have one person working and that's it. And you're able to employ two in addition to you and your husband and trying to keep it going in the face of like, I mean, think about the challenge. Okay, we're gonna ask you to do live theatrical stuff in a way that's never been done before with no blueprint on how to do it. So go. Well, good luck.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, it's crazy.
It's
Eh,
really crazy.
Yeah, and I remember early on, it's like during the pandemic of, all right, let's just see what works. Let's see what works and what doesn't work, and you know, everybody the one thing that was constant was everybody was trying to figure it out at the same time. Nobody had a leg up. Just because you were a theater with a name didn't mean that you were farther ahead because nobody had planned for this. And then it was like, okay, we are truly on equal footing right now because everyone's scrambling to make this work.
Yeah. And I think what I just kept on coming back to, like I remember our conversation that we had was really valuable for me. Like I remember you saying right before we went off the phone, you were like, just think about like Leela might come up with some new thing. Like just be open to what's Leela gonna do. And I was like, yeah. you know? Yeah, exactly. And for me, I just kept on going back to our mission. Our mission is very simple. Our mission is truthful artistic play. It's 3 words. As long as we embrace those 3 words, we're doing Leela Improv. So I just kept on going back to our mission and seeing how that will translate on the online platform. That's it. That's all I did. That's all I did. And I kept on thinking, yeah, these are dark times, these are weird times, but let's play with it. Let's play with the truth. Let's just play with it.
Uh,
Yeah.
Landon, what's your 3 word personal artistic mission
I
statement?
love that. Yeah, what's your three?
Funny hair and props.
Yeah! Funny hair props. I love it. What's
Oh,
yours, Jay?
that's it. Yeah, what's yours, Jay?
Oh yeah, mine is more waiter walk-ons.
Ah!
You cannot, you know me. I cannot have enough waiter walk-ons in a show, every scene needs to have a waiter walk-on. Everybody talks and thinks about food. They can relate to it no matter where it is. It doesn't matter what the scene's about. You can always have a waiter come in.
I think we have a new improv class, branding, personal branding for improvisers, like
Actually,
words.
they should. You should I think personal like everyone needs to have to understand their brand because if nothing else, life is all about marketing too, and it's about what's your story and what are you presenting. And I think a lot of people don't even quite understand who they are, and I think improv does help you understand who you are. But and I do think there would be a value in like a for me of all right, improviser, what's your stage persona? What energy are you putting out there? Like, even though we joke about doing it, I do think it's very valuable to be like, oh, I'm this person. This is my persona.
Yeah. I think in the last 5 or so years for myself, I've been going through that journey because I'm like, okay, our company's at a certain place, or it's running pretty well. It's kind of going on autopilot now. It's like, oh yeah, I want to perform. So, I've been going through my own process as a performer of like, what kind of performer do I want? I've studied at all the places and I've done all the things, so, but what do I want to say? What do I
Oh,
want to do? Yeah.
how did you find that balance between running things
Yeah.
and playing? Because, like you said, the name's play. That's
Mhm.
what's important to you, but the responsibility and the decisions fall to you. So, what advice would you give someone who's in a similar situation where they're trying to balance that leadership role with why you got into it? Because you certainly, I mean, I don't know, Jill, but I'm guessing you didn't take an improv class and go, hey, one day I hope I'm cleaning toilets in a theater somewhere. Like, I hope it leads to that.
Yeah.
But like, how do
That
you,
was the first class I took, Jay.
well, and that was a 19-week class, Landon, which
It
you
was
crushed at that. Levin O'Connor taught it. Fabulous, fabulous teacher.
amazing. It was amazing.
Great
But what?
technique, right? Good. Like I know.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
great,
Oh
great
yeah.
technique.
Yeah.
But what could you tell people like? And there's probably not an easy answer to find that balance. But like, how can you still have a sense of play when you're in that leadership position?
Yeah. Yeah, I went through, I'm definitely somebody who tends to give. I'm a giver. I worked as a therapist for many years. I worked as an adoption social worker for many years. And like I think a teacher too. I was drawn to teaching. So I
Oh,
noticed
so all the big bucks,
all the gives. Yeah.
making lots of cash, money. Got it.
But I think for me it was when whenever I started getting kind of crunchy, and I would get kind of like burnt out and jaded and then and also like maybe if I saw myself kind of get jealous of my students, I was like, I would be like, "Ugh, why are they so good? Like I'm good." I'm like, "Oh, Jill, because you're not performing. You're just teaching." Like, just noticing that stuff of like when the give take quota gets off balance. And then I also
Yeah.
think it's also important for your students to see you play. Like I think that's really important, for them to see you play and walk your walk and learn by watching you. Like I think that's really important.
How
And it
how
And it's fun.
Yeah, and it's fun. And it was scary for me. I think I had, when I really started to perform more and teach less, I got kind of scared, like, oh God, my students, what if I make a mistake? What if I do something that, I'm not teaching, I had a lot of that inner critic going, but I just had to play through it. I just had to play through it and keep going because I definitely had a ton of bad shows when I first started doing that because I was so in my head. And I truly believe in that, like observing ego and id in the improviser brain. And when you teach and direct a lot, your observing ego is strong, like
mm,
you can notice things, you're looking at the scene from a big picture, you're putting things together, all that kind of brain. And then you're atrophied in the id, in the play, and the abandon, and the just being in the
Yeah.
moment. So I was atrophying in the being in the moment. I was atrophying in that place and I needed to just play. I just needed to play. Yeah.
I think it's, I mean, I found that when I started teaching, the performing kind of, because when I first started teaching, I was still performing, quite a bit. And that was the coolest part of it for me was, really seeing how it was affecting my, not necessarily just play style, but also just decision making process on stage. And like, like you said, you get the high level view of it, and because you've gone through all of these motions with your students and you're seeing like, hundreds and hundreds of scenes and you're
mm,
doing all the mental math, with the scene with them as well.
yeah.
So it's a really cool thing to then be able to get on stage and then kind of feel those, like you said, those muscles work really well, and then have to kind of let go and abandon with the play stuff.
Right.
Although I will say I love it whenever students come to shows. I've always encouraged students to come to shows that I'm doing and then harp at me afterwards for things that I did wrong or that I've said not to do. I always say, I'll say this 1,000 times in class, but
Yeah.
please come watch me and
Yeah.
you'll see me break this all the time, and I want you to call me on it because number one, it keeps us pretty honest, but then number two, we can talk about, it makes your teachers real. You're real people. Like, as we've always talked about, there's no like top of the mountain. We don't, you don't learn improv all of a sudden one day. Like you're always learning, right? So
that's interesting because like when you two are talking about it, I could see how that would be. I nail every scene I do in front of students, so I'm understanding what you're like. I guess I don't understand what you're saying. Like I hear what you're saying.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
I pretty much I say something and then I do it, and I never get nervous in front of students.
Prop robot over here.
Yeah, I'm like, and then after the show, I walk out after the show and I say, and that's how it's done, and I go right to my car and I go home, and the next week I just look at people and I go thoughts, and that's it. So, wow, what a burden you have.
You never had a post show like shame spiral?
Never. In fact, Jill, never. Since I started taking a class, the first class I took, I was like, "Oh, makes sense, And then I went out and I demonstrated it, and because, and the reason that is that way is because I hold my improv scenes so preciously that they have to be perfect, and if they're not, then once it's not, I'm going to quit. So I've got an undefeated streak right now.
Yeah. As I should have added it, as I normally add at the end of all of my sentences, except for Jay Suka.
I remember we were doing a faculty jam at Second City, and Jill and I actually met at a faculty jam at Second City. She was. Were you taking class? You were taking classes.
I was doing like an IO intensive, over the summer.
And then she came on board and played with us, which was great. Jonathan Pitts brought her over, and we became friends since then. But I was doing a show, and I used to play with this guy, and his name. And I'm going to say his name because I love him dearly, and there's no way he's going to listen. And if he does, he would still agree. His name was Scott Goldstein, and he would do these teacher jams. And the next week, I would have to explain to the students why it was okay for him to make the moves that I said were just terrible moves and scenes. And they were like, "Why you say not to argue, but he sure likes arguing and this and that." And I said, "You can do whatever you want when you're up there." And the thing with the jam and when you get in these shows is you can't choose who's there, so you have to play with them. And I said, I find fun in playing with him. It took me a long time to understand how to play with him because I would get so upset at the beginning. And then I'm like, oh no, I'm not going to let him stop my fun. So I'm going to figure out how to play with someone like that. And sure, he might break the rules and everything like that, but it's my job to see if I can make that look good. And then we developed a really good relationship. And he was also a teacher, so I'd be like, yeah, he does that. That works for him. But it was so funny after the shows or at class the next week, they would be like, you said not to, but he did. It's like, I know, and some people can get away with doing that.
Call it the Scott Goldstein.
Yeah, it's the Goldstein where you're just like, all right, I don't know why some people can get away with like breaking every quote unquote rule in improv, and they still, the audiences dig them, and they still, have a good show. So I just say like, these are higher hit rates of success is if you do these things.
Right. I have kind of a similar thing. I'll say, improv is an anarchist art form. The minute we give you a rule, you're gonna want to break it. So it's like,
yeah.
And it's anarchy. But there are pitfalls to improv that are going to make your job harder, for winning over an audience, or just it's not going to be as fun to play with you or in that choice. So here are some pitfalls that you want to try to avoid, but it's anarchy. It's anarchy.
Yeah.
Every
try to lean toward chaotic good or chaotic neutral, somewhere in the middle there.
I like chaotic neutral.
Yeah.
It's a great term.
These are D&D terms, but you get the idea. Right? Yeah. Sure. Yeah.
Hey everybody, we're chaotic neutral. Can we get? That's a great.
It's a good name.
It's a really good name.
It's a good name for something. And kind of speaking of names, one of the things I admire about Leela, just as I was kind of looking over the site and then knowing the name and all that other stuff, I love it that the word comedy isn't in there. Mm-hmm. I love that. and I have to believe that that's an intentional choice.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Talk about that a little bit.
Oh, I'm a process girl. It's like I'm all about, surrendering to the process and the product, and like free yourself of the product. So like if you play truthfully, artistically, you play that truthfully and artistically, and you commit to that process, then you need to release whatever product it is. It could be drama, it could be comedy, it could be sci-fi, it could be absurdity, it could be whatever label you want to put on it. But the goal when we do improvisation is to commit to process. And if we can vulnerably commit to that process and release whatever effect it has, like that's brave. Like I feel like that's being an improviser. That's being brave. Yeah.
Wow, that is. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's the thing that I have the most fun with whenever, and doing these classes on Zoom that I've been doing lately. They've been more they've been less performer focused. Now the classes I would normally teach, they're not terribly performer focused. I don't teach a whole lot of actors, who are people who are like aspiring to be actors professionally, but
yeah,
there are some, but but far fewer than you might think in Los Angeles. And I love, my favorite part of any improv class is the moment that it sort of clicks in with the people doing it, that they're like, oh, this isn't really for acting and performance, is it? This is for other stuff. Like I can use this in other ways. And I love that. Like that's been super fun. And the level ones that I've been teaching lately, and again, particularly over the Zoom, where the stakes are kind of lower because like you're at your home and like, you can sort of like, you're not sure if you want to commit to this or not yet, and whatever. And they start doing the exercises, and then it kind of dawns on them, and they're like, oh, okay, like this isn't about it's never about being funny, but especially now it's not about being funny. It's just about listening and reacting and like you said, opening yourself up and being vulnerable. And I really like that. That's been a lot of fun, a kind of a cool silver lining for all this stuff and doing this on Zoom.
Yeah, and it's interesting because I think we've had some folks come to our shows and be like, oh my God, Leela does comedy. And I was like, okay. It's like...
Jill, how dare you? How dare you make us laugh?
I know, and it's like, okay, we did comedy, great. But, yeah. So, like, I guess for me, like, maybe I'm not the best marketer because, we always just say, we're selling a process on stage, and that's the process that you're going to be able to watch, and who knows what it'll be. I don't know what I want to say about that. But, like, I want to give our improvisers freedom, and I think that's the artistic piece for me, where I want improvisers to find their own aesthetic as an improviser. Yeah. I don't want to be like, this is the way you do it at Leela. It's like, I want you to find yourself. I want you to find your voice as an improviser or your voice as an ensemble and do that, Yeah,
absolutely. And I think that part of that process is giving yourself over to whatever that's going to be, and the discovery part of that is the fun part, like that's a really cool and fun part. Jay, I'm sorry I rudely talked over you.
No, I was just gonna say, will finding my voice get me on your touring company? And
hey Jay, I got bad news about touring companies.
Yeah, what's up, buddy? What? They're going strong? Come on.
I've had so many conversations with Chris about this lately, just about like everything that's going on in the improv world.
Yeah.
The big improv training center is having issues right now, and all of that. And for me, I was like, you know what? I'm really proud of us. Like, I'm really proud of us. Like, we never were like in our marketing, like, laugh out loud, or like, you'll get on SNL, or Tina Fey did improv, you could be the next, like any of that. And I think because my mission was so much like, I'm a therapist who's an improv teacher, and I'm here to help artists like find themselves and find their voice. I'm here to help shy people connect with people in a like genuine, authentic way. I'm here to like connect people of all walks of life and like just build a better community of people in a city that doesn't connect, so like that's my goal. And if people want to pay me money for that service, then that's what they're getting. I'm making no promises of like
Yeah.
you're going to be famous or you're going to make money at this art form. You're going to get the art form. That's it.
Yeah.
That's
and
it.
and I think that's fine. Like, and also to be clear,
Yeah.
I have no problem with people marketing with
Yeah.
comedy and
Right.
doing all that. I mean, that's I understand that mentality, but I think it's such a great it in a way it would be weird if it were the opposite, right? It'd be weird if you overpromise and underdeliver. But I think any theater that's teaching this stuff in the ways that we know to teach it, and that I believe that all my friends who own theaters are teaching it in the way they're doing it, it's very much an under promise and over deliver, because it's like, sure, you can learn this, and the byproduct might be funny at some point, and you're going to ostensibly get up there and do comedy shows, but the stuff that you'll take with you outside of the stage and not during the performance is going to last you a whole lifetime of of all kinds of different stuff. And boy, if this isn't a great example of that, just everybody having to be so adaptable and then also essentially let go of the lives that you lived previous.
Let it go, let it go.
Thank you.
But
Thank you, Adina.
And that's what I really wanted, was like, I wanted an improv training center where like you're first and foremost working on human skills. And then if you keep going, like those human skills will make you a better performer. Where I think like some improv training centers, like, here are performing skills, and if you keep going, you become a better human. So I was like, I want to do it the other way. Like, I want it to be super accessible and for people to come in just to like be better humans. And if they get the bug and they were like, I want to be on stage, then by level 4, you can be on stage,
Well,
I see a lot of improv training centers, like after 8 weeks of level 1, you're on stage, like, we're preparing you for the stage from day 1. And that's great for them if that's their mission. But I was really passionate about, like, I want to build better humans first.
Yeah. And I think that's super smart. And I think that sometimes whenever theaters have that kind of policy in place of like, hey, we're going to, it's a marketing thing. It's like, people, because now in this fast-paced, world, people want to do the thing like, I paid my money, I want to get on that stage right there, and I understand that, but I totally agree with you. I think that it's so much more rewarding whenever you're fully equipped, again, as a human being, as a listener, as someone who can listen and then process and react in a natural and honest way.
Yeah.
Which a lot of people, which is, kind of hard for people to do.
well, and now it's needed even more, right? Like
Yeah.
now and Jill, it's like you go, well, I'll teach you how to be good on stage, but really I'll teach you how to be better off stage. And I like the idea of like, let's work on you as a human first, and then if you could be a better human, because then you're going to also relax more, and you're not going to have to try and prove anything, which is happening. That happens a ton. And yeah, Landon, like you were talking about getting on stage quick, it was like that was the draw when I was, back in the day, going to IO in Chicago.
Grandpa's telling a story.
Here we go. Gather round. Pull up your Apple box. The marketing was IO was the place to get on stage the fastest. So you were at a time where people were like, I want to perform. It's no longer just a class thing, but how can we get on stage? And that was their hook. Was like, so they started getting the Second City Training Center people, the Players Workshop people who are looking for a place to perform, and they went to IO. That was their marketing part of it. But now I think it is that. And I'm with you, both of you, where I like teaching actors and improvisers, but I really like teaching the people who are shy or who are like, I stopped being artistic when I was in my mid-20s to get a career, and now I miss it and I want to come back. And I want to go like, it's still there. It hasn't died. Let it out, and helping them. That's where I get my biggest joy from, is helping those folks.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
And teaching the proper wait or walk on, which is anytime during a scene.
I knew you were gonna bring it back in.
You gotta bring it back. Here's your tower of nachos. I probably said tower of nachos hundreds of times because I think it's the funniest fucking thing ever. Is a tower of.
Have you TM'd it yet? You need to put a little TM on there so no other improviser could use your Tower of Nachos bit.
Trademark Jay Suko bits. So many bits. Also, if anybody plays darts in a fucking scene, that's mine. I've played darts in 20% of my improv scene. Go-to is playing darts object work. So if any of you motherfuckers play darts in a scene, again, that's a trademark Jay Suko bit right there. Thank you very much.
I like playing a bartender. When somebody orders a beer, I shake it in a cocktail shaker. That's a good move. Yeah.
So
overly complex.
No, I'm trying to think if I have like a thing. I don't know if I have a thing. I do stuff with my hair. My hair is my brand, so I just hair bits. I'm sorry, I took your hair. Wasn't that one of your words, Landon? Was hair?
Yeah.
Well, it's actually that's an old. I can't take credit for that quote because it's an old Harold Ramis quote, which is it's the secret to acting is funny hair and props.
True.
Oh, it's so deep. I like it.
It is very deep, and you know what? It's true. I mean, it really is true.
What's his name? Who's the man in the moon? I'm forgetting his name.
Andy Kaufman.
Andy Kaufman was funny hair and props.
Yep.
There you go.
Who else was funny?
Gilda Radner. She used a lot of wigs and
funny hair and props. It always comes back.
Robin Williams was funny hair and props.
Yeah.
There you go. Yep, absolutely.
I mean, I think we just solved comedy, so it's a good thing you don't have it. I mean, Jill, that would have ended your training center right now. We just solved comedy, so thank God you don't put that on your website.
Well, somebody should create a company, and their mission statement should be funny hair and props.
Funny hair and props. That's all it is. That's all it is. Of course, now that we've got Zoom, we've got filters and Snap and all kinds of things, so it's built in. I mean, the kids have learned this lesson.
They could have props, and they could change their hairs with Snapchat filter.
Oh yeah,
totally. There's a great exercise where it's like you go, hey, I found your bag. I know you're coming in to claim. I just want to make sure it's yours. So can you tell me what's this doing in your bag? And you just take shit from around the sitting, and you're like, what's this doing here? And then they have to justify it. It's like, oh, that's my cord. And you go, okay, cool. What's this doing in your bag? And you're just picking up random shit from around you.
Who came up with this game?
And then, like, there's a phase 2 is now you keep the same items, but now this time you're a robot companion. So you go, Landon, I'm your robot companion. Please tell me what this is. And you have to make up something you have to come up with a brand new title and use for the same objects. It's the best.
If there's any better argument for ending this quarantine and getting Jay out of this insane mind prison that he's built for himself, then I don't know what it is other than him just coming up with it. First of all, I can't imagine Jay. I wanted the 180 view of your camera behind you has just got to be just objects. Random
He's
objects.
like, what am I gonna pull out next?
Master Landon, what is this? It's the best. You're just dude. I've been in this room for a long time. All right.
I know. I can tell. And it's
I came up with a fun game on Zoom. I really like it. I don't know how my improvisers like it. So everybody like grabs a sheet of paper around you, and you put it in a ball, right? So everybody's got a balled up sheet of paper. Okay, do you guys got something near you? You can.
Yeah.
Oh, wait. Yeah.
Everybody's got a balled up sheet of paper, and then like you number it or something. Number the Zoom circle so we can go in a certain order, right? And then the first person in the order like opens their sheet of paper, and we're all middle schoolers, like taking a test.
Okay. Yeah, you are.
Taking a test. I write something on my sheet of paper. Hey, Jay.
Yeah.
And then you open it up, read it, and then you make a big expression to the camera. And then you write something.
Hey, Landon.
Yeah.
Landon.
Yeah.
And then the last person reads it aloud.
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
Mrs. Gesundheit has boogers.
Oh,
It's true. You should blow your nose. You should blow your nose. It's true. You got boogers, Mrs. Gesundheit.
I love that. That's
It's
great.
so fun.
I think it's. I really love the opportunity now to be like, all right, I got a camera. Yeah, let me just, all right, let's see if this works. And then you try and you're like, oh, that seemed to be pretty fun. Cool,
Yeah.
I could do that. And if it doesn't, you just move on very quickly. But see what works and come up with, like, try new stuff and grab props and use. I think it's forcing a lot more creativity, at least for me as a teacher, than I had before.
Yeah, it's funny that the talking, like me, I say the exact same thing that I would say in any class.
Yeah.
Like I'm like the lessons sort of don't change and the notes really don't change. Like I'm giving the same notes that I would give in any sort of class. But then you're right, Jay. It's like finding new things to do that. And Jill, that's a great example of something that's just fun. It's just pure stupid fun. And it puts everybody on the same level of having play at the same time, and that's what's really awesome about it.
Yeah, I did it at a team building. Like I did it at the last game at a team building, and they had so much fun with it because it's like, yeah, it's like let's just pass a piece of paper around the circle and let's make like a funny expression and just and be those middle school kids. It's like
Yeah,
everybody knows what that is. They know what that
yeah,
is.
You're giving them permission to play again.
Yeah, yeah.
And I do think that what's going to survive and succeed in our world of improv is silly fun. I think it's gone from, or it's going from like more kind of artistic formats and forms and stuff like that to getting back to a sense of, because everything that's happened in the world, to get set back to a sense of like just a moment of silly fun, not meaning anything, not trying to look for anything out of this, but just getting to be silly again.
Yeah.
Oh no, Jay, I don't know. A reverse vertical inverted Harold is exactly what I want to do the minute I get back.
I call it the memento. All right, we start two storylines. They're in parallel universes, and then we're going to map it over a Donald Duck episode that only we saw last week. The audience is going to really dig this. And then we're going to bring... what?
Okay, no, Jay, no. I call it the tiramisu, okay? All right, first layer. You start doing all scenes where everybody's violent. Second layer, everybody's sweet. Third layer, waiter comes in, brings tiramisu.
Now, I'm down with that, first off. Second... Guys, I went to a Dave Rosowski workshop that none of you have gone to, so I want to talk to you about the things only I learned in that workshop that we're going to do before the show right now.
And we're going to expect our coach to do that as well, because if they don't, then they're a bad coach.
Right.
Not to me. I
Okay.
just went to a Dave Rosowski workshop, and you're a bad coach.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Okay. But yeah, I think it's that allowing
You know what?
everyone...
Maybe performance shouldn't come back until 2021.
We're cool, right? We're cool. We're just...
I would love to talk about that aspect of like different styles too. You know what I mean? Like,
Sure.
I think that's something that, I've struggled with sometimes with our students is like when they go take at different teachers and their heads can get so filled with all different things.
Yeah.
Like how to help those students, because they're pretty new in their improv journey. They're probably like a year and a half to 3 years in their improv training, right? And they're taking it to the next level, which is great, but they get so confused with like what is the right thing and what is
Right.
and just all of that. And I think it's, for me, I've struggled with like, I usually tell them like, hey, like, every director is going to have a different artistic take. Like your job as an actor in a project is to follow your director's vision,
Yeah.
or if you're a coach for an ensemble, like make sure that your coach is following your group's vision for what they're doing.
Yeah.
Group's vision. But like there's no right or wrong way to do this. There really is.
Yeah, and it's really hard with certain personalities. I'm a person like this where like if I do something, I want to do it right. You know what I mean? And so I think to your point, whenever you're first starting out and you're first learning in the first few years, you hear a lot of different things, and then you're like, okay, well, what's right? Like, and the reality is there is none, right? Like, there's no right, and that's the thing about, I think that it's the hardest whenever you, for me as a teacher, because I get it, like I totally understand that struggle and that mentality. So it's that whole thing of like, well, just the old actor in me is just like, take the note, just take the note, like just do it and see how it feels, and you'll understand it whenever it's done.
And I do
but
think
like,
part of
but
that,
it's tough.
like finding your voice as an artist too. It's like it's kind of like being a teenager. It's like, well, I'm not my parents, so maybe I'm
Yeah.
like, I'm not this director, I'm not this person, I'm more this person.
This
And
is this is really interesting because again, I hear what you're saying, but as someone who's aced every improv scene I've done, it's fascinating to me what you're saying. So you don't feel that you've crushed every single improv scene you've been in? Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm not sure. I guess like my big one note is like just be better. That's the
Yeah. Okay.
just
Take
better.
note taken.
I mean,
Well,
I
I also feel like that this is a good, like, so I've never been a form person. I don't,
okay.
way back,
Yeah,
whatever
yeah.
it was, 15, 18 years ago, Chicago, like I didn't like that. Like I didn't like sitting on the back line and calculating,
yeah.
what beat of what scene we were in. Like, um, because, and everybody else was also executing that same thing. And like, and then when you found a group that didn't care about that stuff, that just wanted to like roll and have fun with it, then it was like a revelation to me. It was like, oh my God, well then great, let's just do this. Um, that was way easier. So I love the idea of sort of transitioning away from something more, I don't know, like, regimented or whatever. And I mean, I will say at Westside, where Jay and I have taught
Mhm.
together, we don't really teach to form and haven't for a while. So and I like that. I think that's a good thing,
Yeah.
which is good.
I
I think
think Landon, you've got a good note that I steal all the time, which is like, oh, in that scene when he started struggling and it became difficult, what was that point? And that's usually the point it stopped being fun.
Yeah.
So it's
yeah.
like, oh, that's probably so. If you head towards the fun, a lot of the stuff will kind of take care of itself. I feel like, and when you don't, you that struggle is what becomes real difficult. And it's like, I frustrate a lot of students because I'm like, yeah, man, I don't know. I'm like, I don't know what the right call was in that moment. I'm like, hey, so you made a call. I don't. If you do that same move in a show a week later, who knows? It might work. I
Yeah.
don't. I don't know. It just seemed like this is what you were starting to try to do, and you kind of went a different direction. So maybe do that. Keep doing that one thing. But there's no right or wrong. It's just at this point, in for me, it's what's easiest. What's the easy choice? Like, and what's going to make the scene more difficult? I want to just try and make it easier.
Totally. And I think that's a hard pill to swallow for beginning improvisers. They're still like figuring out the rules and like, what am I supposed to do?
Yeah.
And don't you feel like Jill? Don't you feel like most beginning improvisers have a very low bar of embarrassment, and the more you improvise, the bar gets raised, so you have a much higher like bar of
That's true.
embarrassment. But early on, it's so very low, and we don't want to be embarrassed early on. And some people never get out of this. Some people have no problem. Some people it's way too high. It should be a little bit lower, but like I think the more you do it, the more you become okay with that.
Right. Yeah. And I think I went through my own struggle with like embarrassment popping up again when I
Yeah,
felt like I had more leadership or more
of
clout
course.
or more status where I had to prove myself, but that was definitely something I had to push through. It's
Hmm.
like, this is my livelihood now. My husband and I, like, this is our full-time jobs. If I have a shit show, like, I had this
Yeah,
dialogue in my
yeah,
head. If I have a shit show, our
Yeah.
business would be over. Like,
yeah,
if
yeah,
I
yeah.
do abysmal improv on stage, my students could not come back, like, but then I had to remember, like, Jill, you're not going to do abysmal improv. Come on, you're way past horrible improv. It might not be your strongest show, but it's not
Yeah.
going to be horrible,
No,
you
And
know?
also, they're not going to storm the castle gates. No one is, come armed with, yesterday's tomatoes and lettuce. I can't wait for them to screw up. Like it's not going to happen. So it's totally fine.
Well, mostly because yesterday's lettuce and tomato we're still using for sandwiches because most of us aren't employed. So we're not going to get rid of food.
You're absolutely right. That's precious food.
It's precious
that we
food.
Cannot get rid of.
And there's something fun too, Jill, in being in a position of status and really screwing the pooch. And you just go, anybody can do it at any point in any show. Like right now, the thing that thrills me is before a show going, this could go terribly wrong. There's a good chance there could be this show that just goes horribly, horribly wrong. And when you've had those moments, even as an experienced performer, I think you just can shake it off quicker, and you might look at that moment and go, oh, that's part of the show. We'll make it make sense later on. But there's always that element of the having those moments where you're like, yep, even it happens to everybody.
Yeah.
Again, not me. I've nailed.
No. I was gonna say, it's
theoretically.
Keep emphasizing
it's cold.
With us, Landon.
Yeah, it's cold comfort. Yeah, it's cold comfort
Yes.
from Jay Suko because the man makes no errors.
No improv.
So that's that. So Jill, what's going on? Before we kind of start wrapping up here, and obviously there's a lot of unknowns in the future here, but what's going on with Leela for the future? What do you see for either the near or the far future?
Well, I'm hoping, we just had a good uptick, our level, I was talking with Jay before you came on about, our levels classes, and we've decided to continue with our 6-week levels classes, level 1 through 4, and our classes have been, lately, just enrollment has been dropping considerably. But this last level 1 was 1 away from sold out.
Wow.
It was amazing. We're like, okay, all right. So we're hoping that wasn't a fluke. Because level 1 is important, for training centers. That's the beginning of people funneling all the way up, right? And that's, it's important for the whole ecosystem of a training center for level 1 to be healthy, right?
Yeah.
So that's good. And we've also been doing these 4-week specialty classes. Myself, my husband, and then the 2 people I mentioned, Diana Brown and Stephen J. Burnett, are teaching. Oh no, it's not Diana Brown. It's just Stephen right now. Diana's doing something else. But we're just we're teaching specialty classes on a certain thing that we bring to improv. So those have been going pretty well. Stephen's game. He teaches game and pattern really well. So he did a game face class, and his sold out. It's sold out. I mean, what? And Chris is my husband's a musical director, and he's doing solo songs. So
oh, cool.
And he's just he studied a lot of songwriting. He studied musical improv with people like Bobby McFerrin. It's a different type of improv. It's not just musical theater improv, So
no, right.
He's really trying to teach folks let's just sing a well-structured song. It doesn't have to be musical theater. We're just gonna work on the songwriting of it.
Yeah.
And
I love that. That's amazing. That's really cool.
Right, and just the feelings that it evokes. Yeah. And he's doing a lot of experimentation with the first part of class, the first half of class, everybody on mute. He's playing the music, and everybody can sing and warm up. You're not going to hear each other, but you know what? We're all singing to the same track at the same time.
Oh, that's cool.
Really cool.
And that's been what's so hard on Zoom is the sound stuff, So he puts everybody on mute, and they can all hear him playing live. They're all singing together, even though they can't hear each other. They can see each other, right? And then the second half of class, they work on a song, So they each get a chance to perform, in front of the audience. So, and I just think that's the way we got to do it, That's the way we got to do it.
That's awesome. And I think what's cool about it is whenever we will eventually get to a place where we can, come back together or do in-person classes or shows, we'll have all these other tools that we'll have used. And I think that's really neat. That I don't think a lot of those aren't going to go away. We're not just going to hey, remember the Zoom times? We're going to remember all this stuff, which I think is good.
I mean, it can be frustrating. I think I especially feel for a lot of musical improvisers. They're just like, we had a musical improv pie. We call it our pies instead of a team. They're called pies,
Hmm.
performing improv ensembles. And so they were doing a musical improv show and they found like a cool workaround with it, but they just were not having fun. They were just
Yeah.
too frustrated. So they
Yeah,
were like,
yeah.
okay, next season we're just not going to do music. We're just going to do a
Yeah.
regular improv show without musical. So I think it can be frustrating for the musical folks.
Yeah, for sure.
So we're just still trying to figure out, like you said, like what's fun, what's gonna make this fun for us? Because why break ourselves? Like we're already
Yeah.
broken
Right.
enough with
Yeah.
all of this. Why continue to break ourselves? We're poor. We're in at home all day. We could catch a contagious, highly lethal virus.
Yeah.
Like,
Right.
come on,
Yay!
have some fun.
But I need to sing and do my musical improv. Yeah.
Who ordered the nachos? Who ordered the nachos?
TM.
Okay, here comes
TM.
the hair.
TM, TM.
Oh, that's awesome. Great. Hey, Jill, if you were out there listening to this or watching this on whatever
Yeah.
Jay is going to post this on, well, because I've been on a social media blackout. I have not been to any. I have
I need to
not
do that
used.
too.
I
Yeah.
haven't opened Facebook in weeks. I
Yeah.
haven't, and whatever. It's fine. It's
Yeah.
good, but I haven't done anything. So Jay, my friend, you're the one. You're
Take
gonna
it
be
on.
posting all this stuff.
Dude, I might just post this as soon as we're done.
Okay.
Do it. Do it.
Throw it
Whatever.
up online. I'm gonna throw it up. Yeah.
Yeah. Do whatever you need. But if our loyal listeners are out there and they want to find more information about Leela, where do they go?
Ooh, Leela, Leela, dash, like a little hyphen, dash, SF as in San Francisco.com.
Nice.
Yeah.
Great. Leela-sf .com. Great. That's awesome. Jay, what is going on with you? Do you have anything you want to plug? What are you doing right now? I don't
Well-
understand. Besides
doing
besides building this mental prison of objects
How did
and
he do so much? I mean, he's got to be a robot.
I've suffered a hand injury.
oh no.
It's
Robots,
okay.
robots don't suffer hand injury. Maybe it's like a way to kind of blend in.
It's a way to
fake.
blend. It's a way to blend in. I want to promote strawberries because it's strawberry season and they're very, very good right now. I think I'm going to be doing Instacart because I think there's going to be another LA lockdown. So I'm not going to go to the supermarket, but I just want to put that out there. Strawberries, hooray, very good.
Do you have a little deal with Instacart? Are you doing like a little kickback or something?
Not yet, Jill.
Okay.
Not yet. And I've been doing Landon. I've been doing a series of online shows. As you know, I jumped headfirst into the virtual improv right away
You did. You
because it would have passed me by and I would have never caught up to the train. So I'm like, I'm going to jump in. So I've been doing a whole bunch of these 10-minute with videos. And Jill and I have played together a bunch online, which I've been excited about. And I wanted Jill actually have you do one of our 10-minute things that I do.
Cool.
But and Jill and I did a show that we're going to bring back, which was like a matchmaker show. So we picked improvisers. And it's like she picked three and I picked three, and then we matched them up, and they did like 10-minute scenes, which were great. And so I've been doing.
Oh, don't forget the scene we had with my daughter where she thought you told her that you were her father.
It's the best. I did a scene. Jill's daughter was there. I was like, "Bring her on," and I was like, "You don't recognize Daddy anymore, do you?" It was this whole video call, and it was like, "Good luck with that, Jill. Explain to your daughter what the hell that was." But it was really fun. And then I've been doing these like 10-minute videos, 10 minutes with kind of scenes. And then I talk to people after about their journey and how they got into improv. But I've been reaching out and connecting with people all over the globe, man. So I've been doing a whole bunch of these, which has been super fun and very selfish because I just want to play, and so I've been reaching out. Landon and I did one, which was awesome. I'm gonna bring back it was on hiatus for a little bit, but this court of public opinion where I have two friends debate a topic, and Landon and Jillian, our friend Jillian, debated cakes versus pies. And Landon's character won somehow, even though he lost every argument, but he won the popular vote, so he won.
Oh, how do you judge? Are you the judge or
No, it's the audience votes, and I go, all right, now they vote, and they live tally their votes, and then whoever gets the most votes wins an unwinnable argument. So, yeah, I've been doing that, and I've been really enjoying it. And been very lucky to be able to do scenes with people either I know or people I've never met up until right then. So, yeah, that's my thing. What about you, Landon? What's cooking in your world?
Whoa, cooking. What is cooking, baby? I am teaching. There are classes that are happening, so I am teaching both through West Side and then also through some other places. I should know this. I don't know offhand when things start, but I know I'm doing a voiceover class through
I love it.
Denver.
Who knows?
Whatever. Whatever. I have to look at it.
Someday.
I have to look at a thing. I don't know.
You'll open your computer and it'll be there. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. But I'm doing voiceover classes and improv classes, and doing that through both West Side and through Denver, the theater in Denver that our friends Nick and Josh own, which I believe is going to go through a rebrand. So I don't want to. I don't want to like talk about the name.
It did.
Has it already happened?
Yeah, man, they've already rebranded.
Okay, good. Well,
Are they funny? Funny hair props?
Yes, it's funny hair props.
They're funny hair and props.
That's
right.
They were quick. They got our idea.
I know they took it just 10 minutes ago.
Wow.
It is Rise, right?
Rise Comedy. Comedy.
Yeah, so through Rise, doing stuff there, and then I'll be teaching through Dallas Comedy House, and my good friend Amanda is out there, and then I'm teaching. I believe we're still working it out, but probably late August, September, teaching through Third Coast in Nashville.
Cool.
So that's happening. I don't know where everything is going on, so go to my website landonkerksey.com, and I'll try to keep things updated there. And then also I'm posting links to these theaters and their individual pages, just so you can keep in tune with whatever they're doing to stay alive. Because my biggest concern with all of this stuff, and as Jill, I'm sure you're well aware, throughout whatever happens, whenever things get open again or whatever else, like live performance venues are going to be the very last thing to come back. And also what we do in teaching and all that stuff, we need to be in classrooms with each other, and that's a really scary prospect right now for a lot of people, and rightly so. So those things aren't going to come back right away, and certainly live performance in classrooms and teaching, people in person for comedy theaters or for improv theaters or for wherever. I want people to go to these individual places. If you're around and you have a local place, if you know people who are performing elsewhere or whatever, and anything you can give them. A lot of people are doing shows for donations, and they've got pages set up and stuff like that. So I just kind of want to, I'm just listing as many of my personal friends stuff out there, but I will happily post links to anybody's theater, just to have people go through something and support these places, because that's been our lives, for the last 20 years. I mean, and to think that could potentially go away, and that many of these places won't survive, is terrible. So we really need to kind of buckle down and support these places however we can, I think, and so that's kind of what I'm hoping to do. So my classes aside, who cares?
Seriously, who fucking cares about your classes, dude?
I don't even know when they are, so it doesn't matter. But
The money is coming somehow. I don't know how.
Yeah, it flies
Yeah,
in.
it's something's happening, but no, I just want to direct people to their local place or other places around the country because these are small places that don't make any money as it is. So there's that. So that's what I've got to. That's what I'm sort of getting up to, and go to my website and you'll find all that stuff.
Cool.
Yay!
Yay! Hey Jill, thanks for being here.
Oh, thank you for having me. This was fun. I love talking improv.
Yeah, Jill.
I love doing improv and I love talking about improv.
I know.
It's the best.
It's the best. We'll have to have you back at some point, and hopefully Jay and I, or individually, we'll get up to San Francisco pretty soon one of these days.
One day.
We're not that far.
You can sleep in my tiny little apartment pull-out couch.
Done and done. Landon, we'll snuggle, Landon. We'll snuggle.
I made a she shed on my balcony too, so there is another sleeping place.
I call balcony.
It's like a tiny little bench
Yep, that's fine.
on the she shed.
I got it.
That's nice. I had a roommate in Chicago that lived on the porch.
Oh.
So
Awesome.
yeah, it was not insulated.
Oh, God. Okay.
It was enclosed, but it just wasn't insulated. It was very cold in the winter. I think he had a heater back there, and that was a fire death trap. So, what are you gonna do?
What are you going to do, huh?
What are you gonna do? Great. Well, yeah. Thanks for being here, Jill. Thank you, Jay.
Thanks, Landon.
Of course.
Thanks, Jill.
And now that we're doing this in different ways, there's no end to this thing. We're just, this is it.
Do we
This is
stop
the end.
the record? When do we
Yeah.
stop the record?
No, I'm going to stop recording right now.